Hello, everyone. Long time no see in this format for OSS Power-Ups, but we're back. And we also have the next person in the queue already. But today we have also a very special guest for about the topic EntityFramework.Exceptions. The maintainer, that's Georgi Dalakishvili. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Yeah, but before we start, as always, first things first. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I know we are on YouTube and Twitch. I will try to ask Georgi right away, or we address them at the end, depends. And also, we really like if you would stay here with us, but if you have to drop out for any reason, then don't worry. This whole thing is recorded, so you can just continue watching afterwards. And now to give you a little bit of introduction for those who are new here for this format, a little bit of introduction how this came along. So open source in the .NET community, a lot of people already know that, but let me restate that. Organizations really benefit a lot from open source projects. It's often projects that regular companies maybe wouldn't care about, and because they're so small but still very useful, and they really bring a lot of benefit. They can really bring a lot of benefit to your projects. But unfortunately, contributions back are often insufficient, and therefore sustainability can develop to a large problem, especially if the popularity of a project increases so much, but they're still just a single maintainer. And because of that, maintainers and also probably the projects are at risk, because at one point it can be just really overwhelming, So at JetBrains, we thought, what can we bring to the table, or how can we improve the situation a little bit? First thing is the previous slide, probably, but also what we want to offer to a couple of open source projects one by one, and also just is to support them with $100 per month for 2 years as a sponsorship, but also share our strengths in more particular areas like profiling, graphics, CI implementation, and plugins. We've done a lot with these already in the past, like Quest PDF, for instance, was very strong with the profiling while Martin was still in our team. We also did a lot of plugins, actually. I think more than 4 at least. And also, yes, we want to give a platform for the projects to talk about what they to give the maintainers a platform to talk about their nice, really cool things that they implemented, and also raise awareness, like I did on the last slide. So with no, not yet. If you're interested in the project, then I just can really recommend to take a look at our landing page. Actually, you can also just search for JetBrains OSS Power-Ups, then you also land there. And I think we have around 14 episodes already. Really cool stuff. I really recommend you to take a look. And with that, let's bring on Georgi, my guest here. Hi, Georgi.
Hi, Matthias. It's nice to be guest on the JetBrains webinar.
You are a regular. You're really a regular guest in our streams. Yeah, you have been to the .NET Days how many times already?
Only once. So,
it was only once. It sounds to me, it feels like more. But I'm sure I will see you for the next episodes probably again.
yes.
So yeah. I know you. Probably it's also because I see you speaking in many of the other places as well. Yeah, so at conferences, I think we met like at KCDC, for instance.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's amazing also that those people that are maintainers are often also out there doing this stuff and talking about their projects quite often. Right, so it's not just the development part of the project, but also promoting it, just like you're here today, for instance.
Yeah, I learned that with this project. This was my first big open source project, and I did not really promote it from the start. But afterwards, I posted it a couple of times on Reddit, replied to some threads there, and I saw that it really helped. So I tried to find ways to promote it. So yeah, it's currently my most popular project with 1,600 stars. So
That's really cool.
so yeah, promotion is probably like half of the job.
So how many projects do you have in total? I know we will look at one other in a moment, but how many do you have in total?
Well, probably 3, which I can say that are popular. I have some other open source projects, but they are not, let's say, not that popular. So I would say 3, which I know that they are used by many people.
Okay, we will be talking about one other in a moment, but what is the one that we are not going to talk about? The third one?
It's the ADO.NET driver for the DuckDB database.
Okay.
DuckDB is a embedded database for OLAP purposes. So I created a ADO.NET driver for it.
But it seems like all your open source projects are very much around the whole database and entity framework thing, right?
Yeah, it turned out like that.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, I will share one more time my screen to show you something really cool. So as I noted on the second slide about the program, we always try or are very interested to help the people that we have here with something more specific. So it's not just the money. Yeah, let's put it that way. Georgi and we talked about his second project, which is Entity Framework Core Visualizer. So there, what you can do, and it exists for Visual Studio already, what you can do there is if you have a query, then you can create a pop or let a pop up to show the query plan of what is actually going to be executed. And the really cool thing here is we discussed this before, and Georgi said you have so many requests about porting it to Rider, right? So I sat down with a couple of people from my team, and we will probably, at some point actually bring that also, bring this also to Rider. So if you have the debugger, for instance, here, then you can just click the view. This little thing you have to ignore for now. That is, like I said, it's a prototype. And then we have the query plan, and here also show up the diagram. I think we discussed this a bit. I think we will just show the diagram as a little pop-up. But yeah, I'm really thankful to Georgi for bringing this up because it's a bit of work, but not too much, let's say, and it's a really cool feature. So I would say now, Georgi, if you're ready, we can switch over to your screen. Is that fine?
Yes, we can start.
Then I leave the stage to you. I will stay around. People in the chat, you post your questions, and I will try to incorporate those questions and also be the naive, I want to say co-pilot, but that sounds wrong. But, person who sits next to you. Let's start.
Yeah, Copilot now is so overloaded term that okay,
passenger is probably the better word here.
Okay, so first I will talk a little bit why I decided to create this project. So I have a simple context here, DB context, with just 2 tables, blog and post. So blog is a parent table and post is a child table. And here is some configuration for this database model. We don't want to allow the blogs URLs to be duplicate. We don't want to duplicate blocks in our database. So we have here an index on the URL, a unique index. So if we try to insert a second item in the table, we will get an exception. we also have some length restrictions, and we configure the cascade behavior here, not to delete the child entities. And if you have this kind of unique index or unique constraint, very often I needed to identify why the insert failed. Was it because of some other database error, like some network failure, or some other cause of the insert statement, or was it because of the user is trying to insert a duplicate entity in the database? One way to check this is to query the database before doing the insert and see if we have the same entity already in the database. For example, I could query the blogs table and see if there is already any blog with this URL before running this insert statement. But the issue with this is that because of race conditions, the query can return that there are no errors in the no entries in the database with this URL. But after this check and before inserting the entity, some other thread can save the same data, and also this essentially doubles your database round trips because you have to first run the select query and then you have to run the insert statement. So here
that's a really nice URL, by the way. And this was not planned. I didn't make Georgi put that URL there.
Yeah, it's a nice project. So yeah. So I have these three entities in the database. We can see that the unique index that I configured here is also, we have this unique index here on the URL. So we have this data in the table, 3 rows for the blogs and one for the posts. So now without using my library, if I try to run this insert statement, we will get the DbUpdateException, and EntityFramework throws this exception for any kind of database error. So if I want to see if this exception is caused by the unique index failure, I have to check the inner exception, make sure that it's an SQL exception, and after that I have to check that the SQL exception number is equal to this magic number. And if you want to know where this number comes from, you can it comes from here. Basically, it's this error cannot insert duplicate key. So if I run this now, we can see that it will hit this breakpoint here. Hit this breakpoint, we have an SQL exception with number 2601. So this means that we got unique index failure. But if you want to do this check in many different places, it means that you will have to copy this code from one place to another. You also so this number, you can turn it into a constant, but still it's very database specific. If you, for example, switch to Postgres database, then you will see that this check has to be updated, and we now need a different kind of comparison. So I decided that there has to be a better way to solve this problem. And one way is probably to override the save changes method in the DB context, but then you will have, and I think that's what I did initially, but then you will have to copy this code from one project to another. So I decided to wrap it into a library so that you don't have to write all the code. And here, if in the configuration of the DB context, you can now just add use exception processor and make sure that, well, first of all, you have to add the NuGet package. I already have it installed. There is a separate package for every database. In this case, I have 2 packages installed, one for SQL Server and one for Postgres. So just install this package, and after that, this use exception processor method will become available. It's an extension method, so you can just call it here. Just make sure that if you use 2 databases, you import the one from the correct package. And now I can just put this code here. And we can see now that instead of hitting the DbUpdateException, we can catch unique constraint exception. This exception comes from this library. So here we can see that we also get the details of the constraint. We have the name of the constraint that was violated, and we can also get the details like which table has this constraint defined and what the columns are. So instead of catching DbUpdateException and having this check in code, we can just put this catch block here. And if the code hits this catch block, then it means that the insert statement or update statement, we got this error because of a unique constraint exception and not some other database error.
I always thought, I don't use EntityFramework that often. It's usually just to show some features that we have in Writer about it. But I always thought EntityFramework kind of is a large abstraction layer already. Well, probably not in regards to some details like what kind of indexes are available and all that stuff, and what types of columns exist, stuff like that. Yeah, but really for exceptions, I thought I would have thought, yeah, at least before knowing about your project, that this is kind of abstracted already, but it's not. Like you wouldn't be able to easily switch from, let's say, a Microsoft SQL server to Postgres, yeah, because of that.
Yeah, it's kind of abstracted. That's why we have the DbUpdateException here, because EntityFramework can't propagate it can probably technically it can propagate the raw data exception, but in that way, in such case, your code would be littered with database specific code like this. And the whole promise of EntityFramework is that it abstracts the database from your code. So that's why you have this generic.
I mean, it's a low abstraction in that case to clarify that. Yeah, still an abstraction. Yeah, but
yeah, you have to dig in the inner exception if you want to get
exactly.
to the platform, to the database specific exception. And yeah, if I now switch this code to use Postgres.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the configuration, you don't have to make any change. It's just this method from every package. Just make sure that you have the correct namespace imported. I also need to switch it here. And I have the same data in Postgres and the same configuration for indexes, because it's the same model, just different database. if I run this now, it will work the same way. So you don't have to make any changes to the code that is handling the exception. So we get the same output here, even the index name is the same between the databases. So yeah, the code to handle the unique constraint failure stays the same. Previously, you would need to change from this code here to Postgres specific code, and it would get ugly if you have if you want to check this in many different cases. The database specific code will leak into your abstraction. So with this library, you get this strongly typed exceptions for EntityFramework core, and that's the main idea behind the library. There are also some other exceptions that the library handles.
I do have one more question. You know, we talked about what could my team at JetBrains do to help you with the project. Now that I actually see it in action and also the transition from old code to new, I'm actually quite interested. And this is mainly a question for the chat. Theoretically, I mean, I still have to look at it, but people out there, do you have code like from line 69 a lot in your code base? Because what I'm thinking about is if we could provide search and replace patterns for that. So that on a project, you might have a lot of those checks. Yeah, you're checking for those magic numbers and stuff like that. But then we could probably, like I said, I would still need to take a look, have inspections that show as an issue, but also quick fixes to actually migrate or convert into the lines from line 62. So yeah, people, if you're interested, if you want to make me work a little more, a little harder, then say yes in the chat or type 1. You know, all the streamers say press 1, type 1 in the chat. So that would be interesting, actually.
Yeah. One more thing that I want to mention is that this exception, it inherits from the DbUpdateException. So if you install this package and add the use exception processor here, you won't start getting unhandled exceptions like this, because if you don't add this block of code and you have only this here, your exception will still be caught by this catch block here, because unique constraint exception inherits from DbUpdateException. So you can really migrate your code step by step. So you can add this code in one place and leave the DbUpdateException in other place if you don't want to go through your whole project in one go. You can start. You can do it in step by step, because, as I said, unique constraint exception is a subclass of DbUpdateException. So everywhere you are already handling the DbUpdateException, this catch clause will also handle unique constraint violations if you don't add a specific catch clause for this exception. So you can do the migration step by step.
That's also good, yeah.
Yeah, I can also show some of the other exceptions that the library handles. So here
that was actually a question. Would have been a question like, well, what would be a good way to see what exceptions make sense? Like, I'll give you an example. If I have from line 69 with the checking for the code 2601, maybe, I don't know that it's unique constraint exception, but I don't know a synonym for unique, but you get my point. How would I get to know that the exception that I should use is unique constraint exception? Like there are probably a number of different SQL exception numbers that I can compare to.
Yeah, there are many. So if we check here, we can see that there are too many database errors in that SQL Server can throw. Probably not everyone is the frequent one or that we want to handle. So the reason I started with unique constraint exception is that well, the library can also I can show which exceptions it which exceptions the library handles. So the supported exceptions are cannot insert null exceptions. This it will be thrown if you have a column that does not allow null, but if you try to insert null in that column. Also, max length exceeded exception. For example, if the column is limited to length, and if you are inserting something longer. There is also numeric overflow exception. It's with decimals. If you have a decimal with which for example, accepts only 2 fractional places, and you are trying to insert a decimal which does not fit into that one. And there is the last one is reference constraint exception. This will happen if you try to delete the parent item when the child item is still in the database. In most cases, for example, in max length situation or cannot insert null exception, you can actually, and you should be actually checking for it before trying to insert. If you know that the database does not allow null, you should not really try to insert something that is null, and you can validate before issuing the insert statement. But with the unique constraint statement, you can't really be 100% sure before you run the insert statement, because as I said, even if you check because of race conditions, it can happen that the record is not there when you check, but some other thread can insert it before you run the insert statement. So that's the same is also true for the reference constraint statement. It can happen that there are no child entries and you try to delete the parent item, but some other user in the meanwhile inserts the child item. So you have to handle this situation without checking it before running the insert and processing the exceptions that you get.
Are there some other exceptions you think would be interesting to add out of curiosity?
Well, I have not received any requests for the last few years for any new scenarios to handle.
So these are the most common ones that are already existing.
Transaction deadlock is also interesting because you can't check for that obviously before you run some statement. But
is there a deadlock? No.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Not yet.
Yes, the database can't tell it upfront. I'm not sure if the transaction is also wrapped in the DbUpdateException, but it probably is. So I could add support for that one. So yeah, if for example here I have lengths of the URL limited to 100. So if I now try to insert some large string here. If I do something like this, I can also handle this if you have some code that does not validate the data before running the insert or update. The library can help in that situation as well. Or if you have database schema changing without you knowing. So
But
here,
you missed to add the count.
Sorry?
You missed to add the count. Max length,
No,
not
it does.
replaced, exceeded.
No, it was, yeah, it was.
It's all good. It's all good.
Suggested by Copilot, but yeah, it's not really exposed here. But I could probably.
See, perfect moment to advertise for Rider. Rider would have shown an inspection that this parameter is not provided. Or sorry, I think I'm confusing that. That's with string format, so there is no replacement there, right? With WriteLine. I'm confusing that. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's a good suggestion to add the allowed max length property to this exception, so that it's we can also tell what the maximum length is that is allowed. And I can also show if we try to delete a parent entity that has so if I try to remove this block from the database, here we have an entry in the post table that belongs to this block. So if I try now to delete this, I will get the reference constraint exception because you can't remove the parent item if there are children in the database. And just like the unique constraint exception, I can also get the constraint name here and also the table name and the columns that are part of this unique constraint. The properties are the same here. So when I run this code, you can see that this constraint was violated, and it's defined on the posts table. It includes only the log ID column. So we get the code hits this catch block. Otherwise, you would need to do again something like this. Check for the inner exception and compare the SQL state for Postgres driver of the database or the number for the SQL server. And yeah, like I said, it works. So it works for every major database, not just SQL Server and Postgres. It supports anything probably that you could use, MySQL, SQLite, and Oracle. So all the major databases are supported. So you just have to install the corresponding database package and put this method call here, and that's all. You will start getting these exceptions if you add the catch clauses to your statements.
That's a very nice little but very effective library, I should say. Okay, so because this is so little and just so effective, it seems people don't have any questions. Do you want to show anything more?
Well, I now switch to SQL Server, so I can show that it works for SQL Server too. So you don't have to trust me.
I mean, we still have some time. Yeah, maybe also people get more questions. Maybe they have suggestions of what exceptions they might miss.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to switch the connection strength here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it works the same way for SQL Server. So if you switch from one database to another, you don't have to make any changes here. You will just have to install different NuGet package and replace the namespace here. One more thing that I can't show it now, but I can tell is that in the upcoming versions that I hope to publish soon, it will also get support for the page update statements. So I think it was introduced in EntityFramework.8, if I'm not mistaken. You can basically run SQL statements without link. So I can actually show the PR.
Sorry, without what? At least I didn't understand it.
Yeah, so EntityFramework introduced the execute update and execute delete methods where you can do page changes. So it's more performant if you are doing mess updates or mess deletes. You don't have to load all the entries and then do a delete. So it will support this in the next release. So if you are doing something like this, yeah. So if you are doing something like this, so in case you decide to set the URLs for every for all blocks or for some set of items. So the execute update and the execute delete method will also be supported. So any exception thrown by these methods will be translated into these exceptions here. This is already merged, and I will publish an update this month probably.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I can also show the visualizer if it's okay. The one.
Sure. We have time, and I think if we consider actually now that I see that that we're through this so quickly, we could have talked about all the 3 projects actually, but I mean maybe it's also good to kind of focus. But with the visualizer, sure. Let's take a look at that. then
Yeah,
I
so-
am also getting a little bit more inspired how we can make it beautiful inside Rider. So let's see.
Yeah, let's try something like this. I think EntityFramework supports checking for the length. So if we have a query like this, and if I run it now in Visual Studio, I can hover on the query. So it's not yet materialized. So it's just a definition of the query, and the query has not executed yet. So it's an iQueryable. So if I hover here, I can click on the query plan visualizer. This comes from the extension. So when you install the extension, this will become available. And if I click on this, I will get the plan for the query that I wrote. So we have the SQL statement here with some syntax highlighting, and the plan, which is not really long in this case because it's just a simple single table here. And yeah, this also works for Postgres. I can try something like this to make it more complicated. So it's turned to more complex query plan here. So if we have a query which gets all blocks, which has at least 10 posts, we get a plan that looks like this. And you can see the query here also. And this also works for every major database, just like the exception handling library. So now I switched to Postgres. So if I run this again, we can see how the plan looks in case of Postgres. Here we get this kind of display. We can see the query itself here. We have also some statistics and the plan.
So we talked about this before. Yeah, you are you're basically using some other libraries that do the visualization part, and there are different ones for each database.
Yeah, so for SQL Server and for Postgres, I use existing projects. For MySQL, I had to build my own because there was nothing in the public that I could use. So yeah, MySQL version looks different, and that I just built it for this extension. And
We have two. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it's funny that as soon as I showed it, the first question was, is it available for riders? That's what I was getting every time I posted this somewhere. So same here.
Yeah, we have two questions. Let's get through them one by one. So the first one is, can we collect some amount of execution plans, so multiple, automatically? And in case when we run complex data, in situations where complex data is retrieved, and saving those so that they can be investigated afterwards. I guess that's out of scope for the plugin, right?
Yeah, that's out of scope of this extension, but as I know, well, at least for SQL Server, the database collects all the statistics and query plans, and you can check the plans later in the database. You have to query some system tables or views. I don't remember exactly which one, but as far as I remember, SQL Server keeps not all of them, but maybe just like last 100 or some amount of plans. So you will have to find the plan for the queries that you are interested for, like do some kind of correlation between the query and the plans, all the plans that the database engine has stored. But the plans are somewhere in the database engine, and I guess that's true for other databases as well.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Okay, maybe take the third question first. Does the execution plan visualizer also support split queries?
Yeah, it does not support split queries. It will show the query plan only for the first statement. So split queries are basically like this in Entity Framework. If you have parent-child entities like this one, and you know that you want to fetch parent and child in one call, you can use include, but this can cause extra data. This can cause something called Cartesian explosion, when if you do too many includes, you will transfer a lot more data on the network. So there is a split query in Entity Framework, which will split this in several SQL statements and run them one by one. So here, instead of one queries, it will have two queries, one for logs and another for posts. And yeah, there is currently no way to retrieve all the SQL statements that are run in split query. So the visualizer will show the plan only for the first query that is run.
Interesting. I haven't heard about split queries before. The third question, and I will just, I can imagine it's more people than just one who hasn't, that have not seen this before. So I will just quickly share my screen again. We can switch to yours at any moment if you want. But yes, so is this last plugin available in Writer 2? I mean, not yes, but almost, because Georgi and I have been talking about this. So yeah, we are looking to add something like this, and there's a small working prototype already. So you can also click on View, and that opens up the little tool window. And from here, you can open up the diagram. This is all, just to add some more information, which I have not mentioned before. This is all because of data group integration. So we would actually have the same type of diagrams for whatever database you're using. And what I probably imagine here is that the view button there opens just the diagram in a little pop-up window. Yeah. So yeah, that was the other question. I can switch back to yours. Oh, hold on. Yeah, no.
The writer will also support all databases, yes? All the
any that is supported by DataGrip. Yeah, I mean, what we would automate by this with this functionality is really just to grab the SQL command from Entity Framework, yeah, just like you do in your plugin, and then handing that query over to DataGrip, and DataGrip does the rest of processing it and giving you the query plan.
So it means that it will look the same for every database that supports the diagram will look
Yes.
more or less the same way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have limitations. I mean, there's a whole list of data sources that you can add. Like what is it here? MySQL, Postgres, SQLite, Redis. I mean, Redis probably doesn't have something like that. But I also have no idea. DocumentDB, DuckDB, DynamoDB, whatever. Yeah, just a long list. But I don't know which of these have query plans and which are also supported by DataGrip. But
yes, the ones that EntityFramework supports will be supported by DataGrip because there are not that many database providers for EntityFramework, so it's still like the most commonly used databases.
All right. Anything more you want to show? I don't see any questions in the chat.
No, I think I covered everything. So yeah, it's a small utility library that I think simplifies exception handling with EntityFramework. So if you find yourself copying code like this from one place to another, give this project a try. I think it will help you to clean up your code a little bit.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's switch over to my screen once more for the outro. Oops. My mouse moves around. So yeah, first of all, Georgi, thank you very much for talking about these two. Really great. And in the name of everyone who uses that, thank you for doing all the work and for being so, what do you call it? Inventive. Is that a good adverb there? For inventing some cool new tools, especially around EntityFramework. That's really cool to see. Just many projects there popping up from you, and yeah, applause for you. And for everyone out there, also thanks for watching. Here you have a list of all the for more information on the left about Rider, and just to restate that about the plugin, it could be maybe next iteration. I don't know. It's not too much to implement that. But yeah, and on the right also for Georgi, his blog. Oh, damn it. I wanted to add, there's a last line with speaker. I wanted to add Blue Sky, your Blue Sky handle, but totally forgot. So yeah, ignore the last line here, people. But yeah, thanks for joining. Give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you like this format and all the other things that we're doing. That would be great. And to see you maybe on in the next episode. And with that, see you next time. For open source power-ups, I can tell you we are probably looking at, and I will make this, I want to tease you a little. We will probably be looking at something around testing. So a project related to testing. But yeah, be excited. And I hope to see you next time there. And until then, bye-bye and have a good time. See ya.